Are you suffering from postpartum anxiety? I don't mean the baby blues, feeling depressed every day, overeating. I mean anxiety, like you're on the edge of your seat, you're worrying all the time, and you just can't relax. Well, if you're suffering from it, it's totally real, and I had it. I probably still kind of have it. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about postpartum anxiety. Not a topic I normally talk about, but I feel like it's one that needs to be addressed. Welcome back, ladies. My name is Tabitha. If you haven't been here before, I'm here to help all you busy ladies juggling jobs, careers, and kiddos with no real time to exercise. I'm going to give you exercise tips, tricks, routines, and even product reviews to help make fitness a part of your life, or give you health tips and real life stories of things that you might be suffering with, like postpartum anxiety. I've been kind of wanting to make this video for some time and kept putting it off because it's a rough topic. And postpartum anxiety is just one of those things you didn't know existed until you got it. Well, if you're me at least. Now, maybe you knew it existed and got it, but it's just not talked about. It really isn't. You hear about postpartum depression. On all my baby wellness visits, I would be asked to fill out a sheet to rate myself on whether or not I had symptoms of depression. But never once was I asked about symptoms of anxiety, which is very strange to me because I got it. I had my first two pregnancies were fine. I didn't have any depression or any anxiety, and all of a sudden on the third pregnancy, I got it. And I was in a whirlwind of surprise. So in this video today, it's not going to be a happy-go-lucky, cheery, motivating video that I normally do. It's going to be my story on postpartum anxiety and how I recovered from it. You can too, I promise. I probably still have postpartum anxiety just slightly, but I now know how to manage it, and I am much better at managing this crazy anxiety that just creeps up in your life. So if you like videos like this, or you want to be motivated to get health and fitness into your life, consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that bell to get notified every time I post a new video. So I'm going to take this story kind of slow. I'm going to start from where I think my postpartum anxiety developed, the getting postpartum anxiety, to walking myself into a healthcare professional's office, to my journey today, and how I actually made huge changes in my life that benefited getting rid of that anxiety. Like I said, I still have it slightly today. It's not 100% gone. I'm waiting for that day to happen. But it takes a lot of this and a lot of other things I'll talk to you about. I have all my paperwork that I got from my mental health specialist. So I will talk you through some of the techniques that I had to go through, and I will give you some of the info that he gave me that truly changed my life. So before we get started, let me go get some tea, and then we'll talk it through, and I'll tell you exactly where I think this came from. Much better. Okay, now we can chat and be nice and comfy, that versus rigid and in my office chair. So I think my postpartum anxiety, the start of it, began before I even knew I got it, or before I even really got it. Back in January of 2019, we had to move. Now, we moved from North Carolina to Hawaii. If you want to know a little bit about what my husband's job is. I'll post that video here. I talked about it a little bit and why we moved. And then I'll also link our move video if you're interested in that. But it started, I think, the beginning of it in January. My husband had to leave for work. I was pregnant, probably around 20-ish weeks, going, getting up there. And my husband was gone for work for 2 months. I was in our house, cold, wintry in North Carolina, pregnant and prepping to move. Yes, with 2 toddlers. So my oldest was about 3.5. My youngest was about 18 months, a little bit older than that. At the time, I had 2 dogs, I had 2 cars, and I had a whole house full of stuff all by myself. In the cold, I do not like the winter. I hate the cold. I know that's a strong word to say, but I am a wuss when it comes to the cold, okay? The move was supposed to be fast. We were supposed to get packed up. My husband left that same weekend. I planned for his car to be shipped out. I had scheduled our dogs to go get flown out to Hawaii. I'm from Hawaii, so I flew my dogs to my dad's house, and that was a blessing. That way I didn't have to deal with that aspect. Then a few days later, after my husband left, the movers came to pack our house up. So it should have been fast. I should have been gone within a week. Well, we're in the military, and things just don't happen that way at all. So they messed up my husband's orders. They messed up a lot of things. Before my husband left for work, they had approved me to leave North Carolina with the kids and everything early before my husband had finished his work trip. Because it was such a long work trip, I was supposed to be in Hawaii before he got done, and that way I didn't have to risk flying at, 30 plus weeks pregnant. Well, like everything in the military, things never go as planned. So I had already shut off our internet. I had an empty house with just our bags of what we were going to travel to Hawaii with. I had our cold weather gear, and then I had our summer gear because Hawaii's warm. I had the boys' bikes, and that's about it. I had already dropped our dogs off at the airport, and then come to find out we were stuck in our house with nothing. Like, I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress with 2 toddlers, didn't know when we were leaving. I was stuck in that house for 5 weeks. Probably the most miserable time I have ever had in my life. I mean, now granted, some people have had much harder times than this, but I didn't know when I was leaving. I was dealing with the sale of our house. I was repairing little, nail holes and paints in the house this entire time. So I was doing, the Chip and Joanna Gaines sort of thing, except it was just the Joanna part with 2 toddlers and no real house. So no real things to cook with, no nothing. It was rough. On top of that, not too many months prior, I had stopped personal training. So I wasn't running my at-home personal training business anymore. I wasn't personal training at the gym. So all of my social interaction and the life that I had known basically came closed. And it was so fast, I didn't realize it was going to happen because I knew what in my mind, I was like, we're going to move. Everything's going to go fast. We're going to get to Hawaii. I've got tons of friends and family there. I'm going to go look for a house. It's going to be wonderful. And then I had this big stress on me. So I finally got out of North Carolina, I think 1 or 2 weeks prior to my husband coming home, to Hawaii now, which is our home, which we didn't have a home. So I spent some nights in a hotel in North Carolina. I had a car full of bags. We spent some nights in the hotel. When I was finally on our way out, we had to drive from North Carolina all the way down to Charlotte because that was the only place I could ship our car off from. I had to take all those bags in a hotel, out of hotel. I don't even know how I did it. At this point, when you just are in it, you just do it. I had to drop our car off. I still had 2 toddlers. Then the next morning I had to get on a plane, fly to Hawaii, almost missed our flight because a toddler peed his pants. It was just, I mean, everything that can go wrong went wrong. And every day was a day, you know, I never really thought much about it. It was all stressful, but I made the most of every day. So then we get to Hawaii, I have friends, I'm so happy, but we're in a hotel room because we don't have a house and I have to now house hunt. I took some time off to go stay with my family for about a week, which was really good. I really needed that. And then my husband was on his way home to our hotel room. And then we still had to house shop then. And at this point, I was about 33 or 34 weeks pregnant at this point. And we were still living in a hotel. So we finally find a house, but we can't move in for another month. So we lived in a hotel for an additional month. I was 38 weeks pregnant by the time we got the keys to our house. My routine's gone. I'm not exercising the way I used to exercise. Moving has been stressful. We don't have everything. We're living out of a hotel that didn't have a kitchen. So we had to eat out a lot. And I'm not a person that actually likes to eat out. Eating out is fun every once in a while, but I like to eat home cooked meals. So after eating out so much, you know, I gained extra weight during that pregnancy. It was quite, let me take a sip. It was quite an adventure. Let's just put it that way. So we finally get our house. We're so excited. The furniture and the household goods don't show up for another few days. Well, our household goods showed up, and 5 days later, I went into labor. 5 days later. So it was crazy. And at this point, I still didn't have anxiety. I was just dealing with life as it was rolling through. Brought the baby home. Our house was still full of boxes. It was a disaster. And for people that know me really well, they know I'm a very type A kind of person. You might not know from watching me on the camera, but I like things like so-so, you know, like I want my house done a certain way. I want things in order. And when things aren't in order, it starts stressing me out. So I dealt with this wave of my life being out of order to coming in and hopefully having my life in order, but it was still out of order because we went from a house that was 2,300 square foot to a 1,500 square foot house. We didn't know that we were going to have such a different, you know, such a much smaller house. That was just what was available here. So we hadn't purged, and of course, because I was moving by myself, we hadn't purged a lot of our belongings to fill the 2,300 square foot house the way we would have if we had known that we were coming to a 1,500 square foot house. So now I had that extra burden on me of putting things away and organizing our house, which I wasn't prepared for. It took a couple months for me to start getting anxiety symptoms. I think the baby was about 2, maybe 3 months old. And this is when I started going back to work. I talked about that a little bit in another video, but I am in the National Guard as well. So as the pressure came for me to make sure I had gotten all my work done for the year, because it was getting close to the end of the year, and the more I had to go to work, and the more that my house was in disarray, and the more that I didn't have time for me, and I wasn't exercising as much regularly because my garage gym was still not done. I can't relax. I personally can't focus on other things when everything else around me is a mess. So the first symptom I started getting was every time I would drink coffee or if I ate too much chocolate, which I love chocolate, my throat would feel like it would tighten up. And I was like, what is going on? Maybe I'm allergic to the coffee. Maybe that's too much caffeine. And I was just like, well, whatever. I kept going. I didn't think twice about it. Then, August, the baby was about 4 months old. I had to work for a few weeks, and my husband was gone on yet another work trip. And that's when it started hitting me. I had 3 children now. I had to find daycare for. I had to work. I wasn't getting my regular exercise that I normally liked. And my throat tightening turned into I could feel heart palpitations. So it would feel like my heart skipped a beat. I'm a health nut, guys. Like, these things don't normally happen to me. I am like, what is going on right now? And so my crazy brain goes, oh, fire alarm, like something else is wrong with me. What is going on? I'm dying, whatever, whatever the craziest thing I can think of, I'm dying now. So what does that do but spin me out of control even more? So it got really bad when my husband was gone and I was out with one of my girlfriends. We went to a museum, we were having fun with the kids, and I wasn't depressed at all. I didn't feel depressed or sad or anything of that sort. It was literally anxiety. We left the museum. I felt kind of good throughout the day at the museum, and then I was driving home, and the moment I was alone again with 3 children, it would hit me. I was on my way home. I turned the car around and I drove straight to the OB clinic. And I guess the nurses knew, like, something's wrong with this chick. She's flustered. She's a mess. I walked myself in. Nurse was like, can I help you? I was like, I need a mental health specialist, like, now. And she was like, oh, come this way. Oh, yeah. She looked at 3 kids, 3 boys. And she's like, oh, yes, come on this way, honey. No problem. No problem. I will help you out. So then I met the health specialist. I'm not sure what his title was. He must have been a psychologist or a psychiatrist, one of those. I'm not sure of those technicalities. The sweetest, most soft-spoken man, like, you could just hug him. Yeah, he was just so gentle and kind and quiet and just so relaxing, so different than my personality because I am loud. I am out there. I am a very, very outgoing, happy-go-lucky type of person. And the anxiety was just not me. And it was debilitating. Like, and even now, I mean, I have tears in my eyes thinking about how horrible it feels. It's the worst feeling I have ever felt in my life. Like, I'll deliver 10 babies before I go through anxiety. And I don't even know if I've had the worst of attacks. I mean, it would get hard to breathe sometimes, like, because I felt like my throat was tight. But I met this doctor and he changed my life. I mean, at least up until now, he changed it. So I'm going to talk to you guys. Let me drink more tea. I'll talk to you guys about what we went through, what he taught me, and how it can definitely help you, and how I use it. I still use it today, and it is literally a game changer, like serious game changer. Give me a second. This is so good, by the way. This is, I'm using the, oh my gosh, Nutiva brand, because I didn't make any myself. But this is golden milk. It's turmeric tea with ginger and cinnamon, and oh, it's so delicious. Actually, I've always drank golden milk and green tea and chai tea and stuff, but never at the rate that I do now. So if you're suffering from postpartum anxiety and you're just like through the roof, caffeine is probably the worst thing you can do. I still drink coffee today, but caffeine brings on anxiety for me. So I limit it, super limit my caffeine. And I will post a link to the video of these top 3 teas and how you can make them at home. They literally are life-changing because, you want that warm sip of coffee or tea or something. And you can still get that benefit and so many other health benefits from these guys versus the coffee. Boys' cars, boys' stuff everywhere. So when I tell you I kept all my notes from the doctor, I kept all my notes from the doctor. Now, this isn't a whole ton, but I refer back to it because in case I think I'm going crazy again, I want to read this stuff. So we did some cognitive behavioral therapy, and he gave me a sheet I had to recognize my automatic thoughts and find patterns in the way I think and the way I see things. But before we get into the cognitive behavioral therapy stuff that he showed me, which is incredible because, when you have anxiety, you are going a little bit crazy, not just mentally, but physically, your body is kind of off chemically as well. So this was probably the best sheet. I'm going to try to reproduce this for you guys, and then I will post a link below, and I'll put this on my blog, because it's probably this sheet that saved my life more than anything. Like the cognitive behavioral therapy definitely did, but it's these things that I swear by. And I've now recognized that, like I said, when I have too much coffee, even if I eat too much chocolate, because I really like dark chocolate, like 75+%. If I eat too much, it does have caffeine in it. I can feel the effects on anxiety, like it's too much, my adrenals and stuff. So I definitely have some sort of imbalance going on, but it's a journey, postpartum is a journey. So I'm going to read this tracking log that he created. There is his name, Dr. Tyson. Thank you, Dr. Tyson. I know you're not watching this, but amazing, amazing doctor. So I had to track exercise or an activity every day, 2 of them. I had to get outside and get fresh air. I had to get sunshine from 3 to 30 minutes, morning preferred. I needed a social interaction. I needed to make sure I ate nutritional meals and snacks. I needed prenatals with DHA and all of my omegas. I needed to do a pleasurable activity, sleep every night, at least 7 hours, and then other things. Diaphragmatic breathing, which I'll post the link here. This is 360-degree breathing, extremely important. I talk about the postpartum benefits in that video with breathing. Highly, highly recommend it. We all need it, all of us. Guided imagery, self-hypnosis. I didn't do any of that with him. So I saw him for 3 appointments, and he said, I'm not a doctor that gives out medication. We do this all naturally. We talk through it. You're going to get 3 appointments with me. I very rarely see women past the 3rd appointment. He was right. And he's like, if you need me past the 3rd appointment, you come and you see me. And golly, was he incredible. So I have never taken any anxiety medication. I am not a medication taker. I just don't like medicine. I think our food and the plants and animals that we get our food from and the vitamins and minerals is just enough medication. And like curcumin, which is an anti-inflammatory, which is so good. So upon going through this list that Dr. Tyson gave me, I realized really quickly, I don't get the amount of exercise I used to get. I used to get so much exercise, but because our life went out of whack for 6+ months and I was still not in the groove of my normal life, hence, if you notice my YouTube channel, I started making videos and then I fell off like really bad. It's because things went crazy. So I wasn't getting the exercise I needed, and I knew that, but I just was struggling with everything else around me that I wasn't able to fit the exercise in because mentally I wasn't there, which is really crazy to say. Fresh air. Was I walking outside every day? Maybe, maybe not. Not likely, because I was indoors taking care of the baby, and I was going crazy trying to get this house into like perfect condition, which it's not in perfect condition. Sunshine. Was I getting 3 to 30 minutes a day? No, definitely not. My social interactions went from having my own garage gym and training at a gym, social interactions like multiple on a regular basis, to like I see a friend maybe once or twice a week, like that much. So I lost a ton of exercise, fresh air, sunshine, just by rate of not going outside my house to go to the gym or train anybody, lost all those social interactions. And then vitamins. I was taking a prenatal, but I had fallen off the bandwagon of taking my omegas because we were moving. So I just didn't order any. I had enough of my regular vitamin, which I was taking, but I didn't have the omegas. And this is the first I learned of it, how important omegas are for your mental health. And I'm going to show you what I take. I take these here. Here you go. Royal, Green Pastures Blue Ice Royal Blend. I take the fermented cod liver oil and I do the concentrated butter oil blend. You don't need to do that. Just fish oil, krill oil, omegas. You can do cod liver oil as well. I just like this because it has added vitamins in the cod liver oil. It has a lot of K2 from the butter, which is extremely good for your bones and your body and your teeth and all sorts of things. And then the fermented cod liver oil has D3 and vitamin A. So it's got more vitamins than just fish oil. So I fell off the bandwagon. I was taking this on a regular and I stopped taking it from the move and I just got to order it, mom brain, I don't know. I went crazy for a while. Pleasurable activity. I lost pleasurable activity. The moment I stopped exercising, the moment I stopped training women, I lost pleasurable activity. That, even though I love other things, like I do love my children. Who doesn't love their children? But that's not your personal hobby. I love art, but I don't get to do that because of children. I do it every once in a while. But so my big pleasure of training women it was gone. And that was another huge thing. And so I realized that I had lost the majority of these things on this list, that I had done these things. This was my life before moving. I had all these things, I was good to go. Sleep. I lost so much sleep. And then with the anxiety, I lost more sleep. So what we did is I would have to follow this checklist and I would have to write in the date, how many minutes of exercise I got per day, and whether or not I did these things that he had talked about. What did I do to go outside and get sun or fresh air or a pleasurable activity? How many hours of sleep did I get per night? I ordered my fish, my cod liver oil. I did those things and I did this for a little over tracking. This is my tracking sheet. Here you go. I'll show you a better picture of my tracking sheet later. My tracking sheet, I stopped tracking after a little over 2 weeks. Little over 2 weeks. And the reason is because I started feeling better already, for one, and two, when you fall out of a habit and you're like, I used to be a morning person, or I used to be good at dance and dance all the time, or I used to, that's what I felt like. I was like, I used to do all these things for my health. What happened? So I transformed my brain to put it back on that habit loop that put me back into those things that I used to do. And it made an incredible difference in about a month, probably less than a month. I remember my husband came home. I had only seen this doctor a few weeks prior to him finally coming home. My mother-in-law visited, and a couple weeks after that, I was not perfect, but the anxiety wasn't daily. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can move on. I can do other things. I'm not debilitated anymore. This anxiety, it was just crushing. It was so horrible because I would sit in this stressed out mode and you would do things that go about your day, but you're not focused properly. So if you're dealing with anxiety, I know, I got you. You know what I'm talking about. So I'll post a link to this. I'll make you guys one and I'll post it in my blog. That way you guys can track these habits. And so on top of that, we did cognitive behavioral therapy. For those of you that don't know what cognitive behavioral therapy is, or CBT, it's basically retraining yourself. Usually it's associated with bad patterns of behavior, and you're retraining yourself to get into better patterns. So I have automatic thoughts, and well, I had to learn to recognize my automatic thoughts, what they were, and how they were affecting me. Now, like I said, I'm a little bit of a recovering type A perfectionist. Prior to having children, everything, my ducks were always in a row. And I've had to learn that it can't be that way when you have kids. So what I noticed about my automatic thoughts, it was just not always about me, but it was life in general. If I was talking to someone or was in a situation where things felt outside of my control, but it was like a dumpster fire and I couldn't control the dumpster fire, that would get me spinning into anxiety. Ridiculous, right? I know. Totally ridiculous. And that's what the doctor said. He's like, once you get through it and you look back at your thoughts, you're going to go, that was so silly. Like, what was wrong with me? But I'm that type of person. Like I said, I want everything organized and in a row. And when things would be outside of that, it would give me anxiety, as if that was something I could fix. Like, I couldn't fix that, so I shouldn't be worried about it, right? Yeah, you'd think, but for some reason, it would make me go crazy. So now yours might be different. So some of the automatic thoughts that we would go through was stress, that antecedent, the belief, and the consequence. So we had to go through the situation, what's happening, then what my beliefs were, or what your beliefs are in that situation, your expectations, it should be this way, your predictions, well, what if then, boy, do I do that a lot, and your judgments of labeling things good, bad, right, or wrong. But I'm always the person too with expectations and the predictions. So that was no good. And then what would happen? What would my consequences be of having those sort of feelings that I should not be even like it? Life is going to happen. Don't put a ball of stress around it, right? And I would have to see the consequences of what happened. Mine was mostly physical because of the anxiety would start coming on the throat and stuff like that. And then I would have to dispute within myself those ideas. Tabitha, why are you getting upset that the carpet is dirty? I never got upset about this, but I'm just an example. Like, why are you getting upset and stressing yourself out over a dirty carpet when you can just clean it? It's not that big of a deal. So that was the cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically, talking to myself and telling myself, well, you're really silly. What's going on? What's going on with you? You're fine. Relax. So I have my little sheet here of my situations and what would happen. And then I would have my emotion, what it would get me nervous, scared, upset, frustrated, the behavior, what the behavior I did, and my physiologic, what would happen? My throat would get tight, or I'd feel heart palpitations because I'm now nervous. And that would be the event that happened, my automatic thought and belief, and yeah. So doing that was another piece that really changed my life. On top of that, I had to learn to breathe properly. So again, here's the breathing technique. I had to learn how to breathe diaphragmatically, because when we're stressed, we're breathing up here, and it's just causing more fight or flight mode in our life versus really breathing through our diaphragm properly the way our body was designed to breathe. It actually brings us out of that fight or flight mode and relaxes us. That's the parasympathetic nervous system, I believe. I'll put it up here. So versus the sympathetic nervous system is the one that makes you fight for your food, etc. It was quite a journey. Quite the journey. And I keep these, like I said, basically for a reminder in case I want to re-look at things, because I do get nervous still. I do get anxiety about certain things. My husband's gone on work trips all the time, and I've noticed that the anxiety is more so when he's gone. And I think it's just the anxiety of motherhood. Worried that something's going to happen to me, and who's going to take care of my kids, and what if some emergency happens. I mean, about a year and a half ago now, we found out my oldest son is allergic to nuts, and that was a scary experience. Not all nuts, just a couple. But that was a very scary experience. So now when he eats things that I'm not sure about, that gives me some anxiety, and I have to talk myself out of it. It's okay, relax, you know what to do if he starts flaring up with something. So I think it's just motherhood. There's so much pressure on us to make sure we raise good little kids and make them to be responsible adults, and we have to take care of a house and take care of our bodies and live up to these standards that sometimes are really unrealistic. And I know I put a lot of pressure on myself. That's the problem that I have. And you might have another problem that results in anxiety. And I just want to let you know that you can work through it. You totally can. I did. And like I said, it gets me emotional. Like, I have tears in my eyes, seriously, thinking about it right now, because it is such a difficult thing to deal with. I've never had postpartum depression. Never. I took care of my body. I've always taken care of my body until I didn't, I guess. Until I fell off the bandwagon because life got crazy. And I know that if it's happened to me, it's happened to so many more thousands and thousands of other women. And that's what I found. I would start talking to friends about it, and they were like, oh yeah, that happens to me. That happened to me. And I'm like, what? Why isn't this something that we talk about? Why isn't it something that we support each other on? Why do you have to stress and lose your mind and go crazy over something that we can help each other with, So I hope that my story kind of helps you out. I hope you can see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that you can get through postpartum anxiety. Or maybe you're just watching this for fun because you want to see what problems I have in my life. Who knows? But it really is such a hard thing to deal with. And I'm so happy that I made it over the hump. And look at this, these tears, they don't want to go away. Don't want to go away. That was rough. I don't think my husband understands. I don't think he will ever understand. Men are just different creatures than us women. Our bodies go through so much, so much. So I hope that helped you out, gave you some hope. I know it wasn't a super motivational story, but there is some motivation in there. Okay, there is hope. There is hope. Ditch the coffee, get some good healthy tea, get your omegas, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, get a lot of things. And I heard somebody say, I don't know where it was, but that moms feel guilty for putting themselves first. But we really should be putting ourselves first, because when we put ourselves first, we're better moms, we're happier, we take care of everyone better, and life just is better. I'm still working at learning how to put myself first and do what's important for me, and I'm sure you are too. I think it's a problem, I guess, again, of motherhood. So with that, I'm going to end it. This is a long one, but I hope you benefited from it. And I hope you stick around. I'll link again videos to the teas that I drink that I make at home. I will link to the breathing. I will link to my other vitamin routines. And stay positive, work hard, and God bless. Mahalo for joining me. Aloha. And recover fast. You can do it. Boy, that was a feat. Never again. Never again. So if you're staying to the end in your military family, you should know what a PCS is, permanent change of station. I like to say now I have PCS, PTSD. Not looking forward to moving again. But now that I know what to expect, I'll get through it.